Hey guys, it's Adam. It's Monday, so here is your minister's moment. Continuing our study on spiritual warfare and the spiritual beings that are in this world that a lot of times we don't see, I want to talk to you today about angels. The angels are throughout the scriptures. They accompany God in, the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. They visit people like Gideon and Joshua and countless others in the Old Testament. They minister to Jesus after his temptations in the New Testament. They rescue Peter from prison and break him out in this crazy, miraculous way. These angels are there to help us. Last week, a little bit of focus on demons and evil beings. And it's important to know that they do exist and that they want to pull us away from God and have us believe things that are not true and fight against the angels that are here to protect us. But I think it's important to also understand that we have very powerful beings on our side protecting us and watching out for us. Yeah, I'm reminded sometimes that angels don't have to have faith in God. They know. They've been in God's presence. They've conversed with him. They've talked to him. They have seen the things that we long to see one day in heaven. And they see all that. And God, much like us, gives them a choice. That's kind of the sad story about Lucifer, about Satan, about how he was jealous of us or wanted to be God and jealous of God and wanted that power and chose against that. But there are many, many angels that see God and see his holiness and see him for who he is and choose to serve him. And many times that service is looking out after us. The book of Hebrews tells us that kind of a neat story that angels sometimes visit us and we don't even know it. They have the ability to basically change their appearance. They're on our side, and the New Testament also talks about how people used to worship angels, and which is kind of funny, but kind of understandable too, right? Because you have this being that is super powerful and awesome and looking and all this, and sometimes you think, oh, this is God or this is a God, and people bow down and worship. And I can't help but think of the story in Revelation where John sees an angel and converses with an angel, not Jesus like he does in the first few chapters, but later on in his visions. He is accompanied by an angel to see all these visions, and he stops and he bows down in front of this angel, and this angel's like, dude, stop that, get up, get up. Somebody's going to see you do that. We worship the same God. Don't worship me. No, that hasn't worked out for anybody. But Hebrews tells us that we have been visited by angels and we have conversed with angels a lot of times and we don't even know it. It doesn't take long. You talk to some seasoned preachers or even some just experienced members and Christians who have had experiences that they can't quite explain. They are, on the surface at least, supernatural occurrences. Now, I don't have one specifically to me, but I can tell you a story. Back when I was a teenager, I was in youth group, and we took a service project trip to the mountains of Appalachia. I believe we were in West Virginia for this particular trip. And one of our groups was riding around in a van on their way to the work site for the day. And they came across a mountain road that have these curves and passes and these beautiful, amazing views in front of them. And so they passed one of those, like, oh, we got to get a picture of this. So they pulled over off the side of the road. They used their camera. They didn't use their cell phones. They didn't do that back then. They got out an actual camera and took a picture of this amazing view of the small town kind of down in the valley and the mountains around and stuff. Beautiful. Well, they get back in the van and they pulled apparently a little too far off the road and got stuck and couldn't get the van back on the road. It's kind of the Appalachian Mountains. It's not super populated. This is not a major highway. It's like, what are they going to do? And they tell the story of that while they're sitting there on the road trying to figure out how they're going to get out of this, 4 or 5 construction workers just walk up out of the woods up to them and say, hey, we saw your van was stuck. Is there anything we can do to help? and big burly guys. And if you ever saw the old Mentos commercial where they pick up this slug bug and move it out of a parking spot for a lady, that's basically what these guys did. They walked up behind the back of the van, picked up the rear end of the van, put it back on the pavement, and got the van back on the road. Well, they said that they were from a construction site just on the other side of the trees, and from where they were, they could see the van in trouble, and they wanted to help. And like, okay, cool, great. And so the work crew goes on to work during the day, and they're on their way back. They say, we need to get something. We need to thank those guys. And so they stop at a little convenience store, get some Cokes and some snacks and things, and start asking around like, hey, these guys from a construction site in town helped us out. Where can we find them? We want to thank them. And small town, tiny little town. And the guy at the store is like, construction site for what? There's not any construction going on in town. Nobody's building anything. Nobody's built anything here for a while. And they were kind of, that's odd. So not taking his word for it, they drove around town and looked for anything, any kind of construction site or anything, and there was absolutely nothing. These guys walked out of the woods, out of nowhere, in the middle of nowhere, and helped this Christian work crew get to somebody's house to, basically rebuild their house and give them a place to live. And they allowed them to do that. Cool story. Angels are around. They do help us many times in secret, in ways that we don't expect them to. And they are helping us because they want to, because they choose to. They have seen the glory that we want to see one day in God's throne room. And they choose to serve Him. And He sends them to come and help us. That should bring some comfort to you today. I know it does me. Love you guys. See you next time.